Have you ever looked at a bunch of icons in a game, or maybe a paint program? They help convey that this exact spot in the interface, when clicked, pulls up that particular action through a simplified, somewhat abstracted image. These icons resemble simplified, abstracted versions of things we are familiar with, so that we can make an association between what they represent and the software function its spot occupies. Their shapes are also different, so that we can more easily associate each action or other UI section with a different form to make it easier to remember where everything is. The thing is, they don't necessarily mean what they are. The fill tool is often a bucket and a brush. By just seeing the bucket and brush alone, nobody would know that it means fill unless you already had a shared cultural understanding of it being represented this way. It may just mean brush and bucket, or to paint, similar to how to paint is just a bunch of random sounds we used in context to refer to paint enough to where we now have an association with the sound and that meaning. So I must beg the question, are these UI icons language? Exhibit B. You're trying to program a game. The commands may resemble English, but at the end of the day, every command and its shortcuts are assigned a particular instruction that, once converted to a set of on and off switches we call ones and zeros, tell the hardware or another program what to do. When read back by another programmer, the programmer typically leaves some notes in English as to what they did. But the specific instructions aren't really readable by someone who doesn't know anything about programming. Thus, a programming language, can it be called a real language? It's clear here that it's doing something. Both are some systems of communications that, like human language, require learning specific signs that are ties to specific meanings through context. But they're in really specialized areas. They can't let you talk about how it was to terraform Mars and have a tea party there. The UI example cannot even combine symbols to form larger meanings like in a sentence through grammar. But does that really preclude it from being a language? Is it simply communication? The problem here is that communication is too broad. It leaves out some significant pragmatic differences to what's going on here. For example, an animal leaving footprints in the snow gives a sign that they were there. These are called indexical signs in semiotics. It shares a direct physical link, but does not resemble its meaning. This is just kind of what happens in nature. It's the equivalent of a dog playing with a ball. It's not organized and structured like a game with a rule set. It's only restricted by the laws of nature. We can intentionally, as an agent, try to use it to communicate, intentionally making footstep shapes where there weren't any, which is regular pressure, to indicate that we were there. But again, it doesn't really become a unique system of communication. It's just how nature lets us communicate things in general. We can say the same things for certain natural body language. The dog baring its teeth to indicate it might strike if you go too far, the cat showing its vulnerable belly to submit. You likely physically taking up less space when you're anxious and insecure. It all communicates, and there is a sort of underlying system nature provided here. It's a little bit of a step up, but is it fully fledged language? When we look at human languages like English, Swahili, French, or Hindi, there are a lot of clear traits that none of these things possess. They're highly systemic. They allow us to take pieces of meaning and string them together in some way to form new pieces of meaning, like compound words, set phrases, and compositional sentences. They involve intentionally made arbitrary signs. If I point at a table and go blushnably long enough, you will associate that sound with a table. But blushnably is what semiotics calls a symbol,